I might be.
Oh, yeah. Signs like this.
It's gonna have. I told her to come up and talk about the house here. Oh yeah.
I'd like to call this Committee of the Whole meeting on July 25th, 2023 at 7:15. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public participation for tonight? If not, I'd like to move down to item number 4, Mr. Todd Henry with the 2024 Work Camp for Life Project and Scholarship.
Right, hi. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Todd. I'm a Lincoln resident for the last 20 years. Sorry. I'm Todd. I'm a 20-year Lincoln resident and a middle school special ed teacher here in town. And I'm just giving you a heads up that they're coming again in buses, trucks, and vans. A few hundred teenagers are coming to Lincoln, Illinois. I'm giving you plenty of notice because it's next summer. I don't know what that does to your blood pressure or make you a little anxious, but you don't need to be. This caravan of high school students, many from out of state, are going to be descending again upon our town next summer, not to raise havoc, but even paying several $100s each for the opportunity to help improve the homes and lives of elderly, disabled, and low-income residents in our community. They're coming to work hard, get dirty, have fun, and make new lifelong friends. They're coming for Work Camp for Lincoln 2024. And so if I could at this time, I have a video that kind of is a recap from 2021 when we did it. You might want to dim the lights if you can so you can see it. And kind of shows what this is about.
Work camps are high-energy, week-long home repair mission trips that serve low-income, elderly, and disabled residents by improving their homes and lives.
I'm blessed by the service that is done. I'm blessed by seeing the residents whose homes we're working on and the work that gets done and the way that it has an impact in their lives. And I'm also blessed to see how much of an impact it has on the staff that serves here as well.
Some of you may already know me if you watch HGTV. My name's Karen Lane, and I'm on a show that's filmed in Indianapolis, my hometown, called Good Bones. And the lovely Todd Henry invited me to Lincoln, Illinois to do Work Camp for Lincoln, which is young people's mission to improve people's lives by doing things in their homes.
Well, last year I scraped paint off the house and their separate garage and repainted it, and it's pretty straightforward stuff. It was pretty fun.
Well, I think this really shows the importance of local communities, local churches, local people stepping forward and doing good things for their communities. And when you look at these homes that are having things done to them, probably things that people have wanted to do for their homes for a long time, they don't have the money to do it. The government's not doing it for them. And this is really the true essence of community, when people step forward to do things for their friends and neighbors, for other families in town. And it really is really what this country is based on, is people stepping forward and doing volunteer activities to help their neighbors. And it's a great thing to see in action.
What really jumped out at me is the work ethic of these middle school and high schoolers. So, doing any type of trade, construction, ramp builds, that's really hard, and that's not something that's very easy. But I am a firm believer in when you learn those kind of skills, that's something that travels with you for life.
I've been doing youth ministry full-time for over 40 years. And the kids that I had 40 years ago will tell me that things they remember are the immersion experiences like the work camps, where they go and they serve and they go and they worship authentically. They go and they're in fellowship with their own church and then other churches. And work camp provides a perfect setup for that.
I think that the ability to empower teens and make them feel like they have value in helping will only provide them the ability as they grow older to understand that they can give back, whether that's in a small portion or a big portion, like building a ramp or painting an entire house. It just gives them value, and that's something I see that teens nowadays struggle with.
As you can see when you look around our neighborhoods, there's a lot of places that need extra assistance. And there's some people that won't go out and reach directly to the government and ask for assistance, but they'd ask their neighbor or community instead. And that's more of a unity. It's more of a thing that makes you feel compelled to do something for your fellow neighbor rather than ask the government for assistance.
I don't know how to even begin to thank the kids for what they're doing. It's just amazing that you have kids do these things. Most towns don't have this kind of setup where they come in and help elderly people or people that need help.
And I beg of you out there, please, please take my word because it comes from the heart. Support your work camp.
I am grateful.
I am 1,000% in for work camp.
I am totally stoked for work camp.
I am thankful for work camp.
I'm pumped for work camp.
I am so thankful for work camp.
I'm blessed, truly blessed.
Yeah, you can cut it if you'd like to. Thank you for your patience in watching that. If you want to flip through the little presentation pack that I've got in front of you, you can skip to the pictures of the students. The kinds of work that we do ranges from building wheelchair ramps and porches, repairing existing ones, drywall, indoor and outdoor painting, soffits, gutters, siding, different things like that. We don't do any plumbing or electrical. It takes a higher level of skill for those kinds of things and more liability involved. But it is just amazing. And what I find when we do one in the Midwest here, we're the only one in Illinois this year, or next summer, is you get a lot of kids that come from outside the Midwest that maybe aren't as used to having tools in the hands. A lot of kids have never held a power tool, never struck a hammer on a nail before. They get to us. And it's amazing the amount of work that we have and the low amount of injuries that we see as well, frankly. It's just kind of a miracle that it happens. But it's very structured, very organized. The next page will show you the organization that we work through, which is Group Work Camps. They've been doing this for 30 years now. Over 500,000 students have went through the program and donated over 14 million hours, so they know what they're doing. And we're basically partnering with them as a community to bring in, and they run the work camp. And the students come in youth groups from all over the place. I did one in West Virginia. I do one about every year, sometimes two, and I was in West Virginia a couple weeks ago, but there was as far away as Maine and Michigan and I can't remember, it wasn't Montana, but it was way out there. It was amazing how far they travel for these trips. Each kid, like I said, raises and pays several $100s to actually work on somebody else's house outside their community. So it's kind of an amazing thing that teenagers would take part of their summer instead of playing around and whatnot, which is okay, but to devote their time and energy to a community of not their own. And that's what these kids will be doing. So I traveled, this will be this is out of date, but 24 years that I've been traveling doing these work camps and helping to lead those. I started by bringing guys from my church to help and that had skills in the construction and rehab business and to participate as volunteers. The next page just shows you how many they do all over the country in a summer. And then, of course, ours in Lincoln, Illinois is right there. Our goal is transformation, 50 to 70 homes and families. Transformation. I should say that last year, I believe we painted on 29 different homes. We painted the exterior at least. We built 7 wheelchair ramps and then worked on an additional 24 homes. There was some overlap, but repairing porches or doing drywall or a bunch of those different things. So all of that happened in 1 week's time, which is an amazing amount of work to get done, and largely done by high school students, which I know some of those jobs could be shorter if it was skilled trade people, but kids really, they have great mentors and people that show them how to do the work, and they work really hard. So it's transformation for those students and those youth leaders that come as well, that they get to put into practice some of their faith and maybe some things that they're learning and actually learn by serving others and giving. This year, last year we had around 200 students come. This year we're anticipating around 350 that'll be coming. So there'll be that many more homes. Each home has 1 youth leader and like 6 students on site. So you can do the math multiplication. We hope to do a lot more homes this coming year. And it's transformation for the local economy. The $160,000 involves the investment that people make while they're here in economics, just buying from local businesses, those kinds of things. We make sure that we buy all the materials and the tools that we need and stuff like that are coming from the local community, so we don't travel outside to Bloomington or Lowe's or that kind of thing. We've been using local lumber yards and to invest in that. It also comes in a number of hours that the students are putting in compared to what it would cost to hire tradespeople to do this work. And then just buying gas or vehicles or renting vehicles or the investment that it has with bringing in all these people that teach these kids the skills and that kind of thing. So there's a more detailed breakdown that I could give you to that, but as far as it impacts the community. If you bring a work camp to town, which we did in 2021, it involves a financial investment, it involves a school or a place to host, and it involves a partner organization. Last year, 2021, we stayed at Lincoln Christian University, which is not possible next summer, but we're going to be at Lincoln High School. And everyone will stay there. They stay on air mattresses on the floor in classrooms, and all 350 plus staff will be there, use their cafeterias, rent their facilities, hire their employees, that kind of thing. And then Capsule, which I'm sure you're familiar with, came on as a partner later in the game in 2021, but this year they're our main co-sponsor. And what I mean by that, they're our fiscal partner, so all gifts and donations go to Capsule in a special fund. And then they help us by writing grants and facilitating those kinds of things, so doing our accounting for us. Also, anybody that wants any work done on their homes goes through Capsule. So you would go to capsule.info, and there's a kiosk there to sign up, and that's how anybody would sign up for Capsule services. But Work Camp for Lincoln's on there, and you can put what you'd like done on your home, what things we do, upload some pictures. They do a lot of background check and some vetting for us on the homes to make sure the people own the homes. We don't work for landlords, so you have to be home ownership involved. We really don't have, it typically is people of lower income, disabled, veterans, or the like, but we really don't have like a poverty line per se. Because we have a lot of senior citizens that sometimes will come along and say, I'll pay for the materials, I just can't get anybody to do the work, and I need a wheelchair ramp, and I can't. So it's not like you have to be this poor, that kind of thing, for us to help and to serve during the week. And so we were very successful last year in 2020. I keep saying last year, but 2021 with our fundraising efforts, and we anticipate doing that again. So what am I looking for from the city of Lincoln, and specifically from this council? One would be some networking. We're always looking for connections with people that would want to volunteer that week in a variety of different roles. Always looking for guys and gals that have trades experience to help mentor these students and these youth. From a financial perspective, I believe that in 2021, you guys graciously gave $3,500, I think, for funds. I would like to bump that this year if we could to $5,000, just because we're going to be doing a third more of the work. And so that's how many more wheelchair ramps or paint or materials. That's what that money would go toward, to changing the homes in the community and upping some home values, that kind of thing. It'll go toward construction supplies, materials. There are additional things we raise money for project staff and for volunteer training. There's lots involved in hosting these students with food and backpacks and different safety things that they wear, and doing background checks on all adults that are involved across the board with any of these students if they're over the age of 18. So there's other things that we fund for as well. The website, don't go to Work Camp for Lincoln right now because we're changing it this week and updating it. But my email does work and my phone there. If you have any questions after this meeting, certainly contact me. But then next week, this website should be up again. And on September 10th at Guest House Coffee, it's kind of our official launch publicly about this coming in 2021. Karen Elaine from Good Bones, the show, HGTV. I'm not sure if you guys watched that, but she graciously came last year. I connected with her before camp, and she worked the entire week as one of the work campers. Wasn't pretentious about celebrity, that kind of thing, but just got in there, and she had an all-girl crew that happened to be, and they built a wheelchair ramp and was a phenomenal supporter of ours. So she's actually coming back that weekend to spend with my wife and I, and then she'll be there at that September 10th on that Sunday at 2 to kind of kick off this and to share about her experience at Work Camp for Lincoln 2021 and that kind of thing. So any questions about the program or anything that I've shared?
Well, I mean, I've heard really good things that year about everything the students did, and it is absolutely a wonderful program for kids to get some skills and gain some of that community spirit. My question would be, is this something we look at putting in the budget next year, and if we did, where would it go?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, but we did do this in the past. I don't recall the line that we used, but I'd have to go back and look that up, but I think we used the public relations line under the mayor and city council, but I'd have to go back and check to be sure. It's been a couple of years. So.
Yeah, you're correct, Ms. Rolfs. I forgot to mention that, yeah, obviously the building trades is such a great opportunity for a lot of these students, and it introduces a lot of them for the first time to that kind of a thing. And frankly, myself, I didn't do a lot of the trades classes in high school and stuff, and I took a lot of trigonometry and different things that I don't use every day. And I wish I'd had basic trades, and I think that, my wife would appreciate me having a little more skill in that area and stuff to do that. So it really provides that opportunity for guys and gals to really get after it, and it really it's just giving back and learning by serving.
Alderman Parrott?
Yes. Will there be Lincoln youths participating, did you say?
Well, here's the hiccup with that is I'm a former youth pastor too, so I know I've taken a lot of mission trips, different countries and whatnot, but kids want to go on a road trip when they go on a missions trip. And so it's not as attractive to say, hey, let's go on this big mission trip and let's stay right here and stuff, unfortunately. Now we did. Last year we had probably like 10 students from Lincoln, Illinois that actually paid the money and stayed right here, and they were working on homes within their own community and that kind of thing. But you just don't find that so much because the kids want to take the road trip like somewhere else and a new place, new adventure, and that kind of thing. And so as much as I beat that drum last year and stuff like that, I wasn't successful at getting those students to do that and stuff. And it really is, it's the kind of a thing from a liability standpoint too, that there's not that opportunity for like local students to like hop in and work for a day and that kind of thing, just because it's not the dynamic of the yeah, it's just kind of a liability thing and stuff. Like you gotta have to be in for the whole week and kind of structured that way. So, but we do a lot of students and youth groups helped us tremendously. Like for example, the Boy Scouts at the end of the week, as you imagine, there's a lot of refuge and leftover at all the sites and leftover lumber. And they went through 40, 50 different sites and picked up on trailers all this excess stuff and took them to dumpsters for us. And we had a lot of youth groups that like did things like visited sites and took the workers' popsicles and different things or visited. So we tried to expose as many local youth to what was going on, even though they weren't actually doing the hammering and screwdrivers and things like that.
Any other questions?
So what's the deadline of the city giving money? It's June. Your thing starts in June, but do you need?
Yeah, there's a I mean, as always, ASAP. You know, I always say like that, but it's whatever works for you guys. There is we partner with this organization in Colorado, Group Work Camps, and so Capsule has a certain amount of money that they're fiscally responsible to raise. That's kind of a minimum amount for materials and that kind of thing. And there's an earlier date that needs to be met. But I'm anticipating that we will. I'm very much an optimist when it comes to the fundraising. That it's going to go well and that won't be an issue and stuff and that. But obviously, if Breanne Titus is the development director there, and she would say probably as soon as possible, just to make her feel better that there's more in the kitty sooner and stuff like that kind of thing. But I don't mind.
So would the council entertain putting this on the agenda for next week, and with this suggestion that Mr. Conzo come up with funding options? And obviously, if it is in June, that gives the council the opportunity to split the payment. We could make the commitment, but we could split the payment, the two payments, one out of this year's budget and one out of next year's fiscal budget, which starts May 1. So that in determining the dollar amount, that's not set in stone. I just wanted the council to realize that the June, that does give us the option to split the payments if we would like to increase the dollar amount.
So, since our budget year starts May 1, would you need to know before then? I mean, you might know that it's in our budget, but you wouldn't know that it was approved.
Sure.
Till May 1st. When would your visit to Lincoln be?
What the dates of it are for the event? June 16 to 22.
I think the question is, when do you need the money by?
I mean, if it was a hard commitment, then, you know, and obviously you guys have integrity with that, then I think the Capsule, just knowing that, and then just we settle up our total funds at the end of that event, like after all the materials are bought and whatever, then we settle up with Colorado Group. So even if some came in after that May date, or that's fine.
Part of my suggestion is if we voted next week, and it would, at that point, it would be a hard commitment. But in the voting, we discussed you would get X amount of dollars out of this year's budget and X amount of dollars out of next year's budget. So obviously, once we vote, we could expend money out of this year's budget since Capsule's local, but we wouldn't be able to expend the second payment if that's how the council
till after May.
Till after the May 1.
Yeah, that'd be totally fine. Yep. Yeah, that would make a difference.
Yes, Mr. Conzo.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we could, this just a recommendation, council could approve an amount, a total amount, and we could hash out the details, so to speak, at a later point in time, depending on what other commitments the mayor may have or others may have for the money that's in those lines that we would normally use. So it would be, I'm assuming that if it pleased the council to commit to a certain total amount, that they would not go backward on that when it's time to approve the next budget. So we'd have plenty of time to amend the current budget to accommodate some of that, and also to incorporate it into the next budget. But there wouldn't be the urgency to do that once the commitment is made.
That's kind of what I was getting at. If we went for his full ask of 5,000, it might be more palatable, 2,500 this budget, 2,500 the next budget.
Or
especially if it seems like it's an every other year type adventure.
My point is, we wouldn't need to specify that in whatever it is you put on the agenda for next week. We could hash that out at a later time.
So just basically to make a commitment of $5,000 to Capsule for this particular project.
Yep.
And then next.
Everybody okay with that for next week? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. Thanks
Thank you very
for
much.
stopping in, Mr. Keller. And all right, moving down to item number 5. This item is Guest House Coffee Creative Family Products at the address of 111 South Kickapoo Street. This is be an economic development grant for the replacement of 2 rear windows. Any discussion or place on the agenda?
Regular agenda.
Second. The attachment here, it's in the file, tells you what the grant amount is. So if you wanted to check, it's not stated on the agenda, but it is in the attachment.
If you could say that dollar amount, unfortunately for me, the computer will not go.
Okay, for 111, it's not on there. Oh, 111, $3,600.
Okay. Regular agenda?
Yes.
All right. Moving down to item number 6, Guest House Creative Family Products for 113 South Kickapoo Street for tuck pointing the brick in amount not to exceed $6,762.50. Regular agenda?
Regular agenda.
Okay. Item number 7, Double Shot Holdings LLC. It's Ethan Haneke. This is at 101 South Kickapoo Street. Removal of tile and concrete repair. This is in the amount not to exceed $1,700.
Okay. We had some good discussion on 7, 8, and 9. And if you went to Kickapoo Street, there are 3 entranceways that go into the building.
This is the old Century building, correct?
Right. Grisham building. This will all be identical. So when you look at this price, and the prices are all identical, $1,700, but the 3 entryways will be done by the same person for the same amount of money and done identically, so that those entranceways into there look very, very copacetic.
Thank you for clarification.
So when we vote on one of them at a time is fine, but.
Alderwoman McQuillan.
I just wanted to mention that I have a potential conflict of interest, so when these come up, I'll be abstaining, so.
Okay. So noted. Item number 8, Double Shot Holdings LLC, Ethan Haneke, 107 South Kickapoo Street, removal of tile and concrete repair, and as Mrs. Rolfs explained, that is $1,700. Regular agenda. And item number 9, Double Shot Holdings LLC, Ethan Haneke for 109 South Kickapoo Street, removal of tile and concrete repair in amount not to exceed $1,700.
Yep.
Regular agenda?
Regular agenda.
All righty. Item number 10 is CMT Engineering Service Work Order number 1. In your packet, you'll see that this work order will cover miscellaneous projects and one-off requests from city staff and elected officials. A detailed description of the work performed will be provided on a monthly invoices. Further down, you'll see that this work is not to exceed $20,000 unless authorized or authorized by an amendment to the work order.
I have a question of Walt. This is not replacing a previous work order number 1, correct?
No, this is the original work order. It's just now coming forward.
Okay.
The way I understood it, we somehow overlooked it. It didn't.
Well, I went back
I
and
don't.
looked
I don't
and
believe it
couldn't
got.
find it, so.
Well, no, I don't believe it actually got emailed to the city, and they didn't realize that till our last voting session, wanting to know what happened to number 1, because if you remember, we voted on number 2 and 3, I believe.
4 and 5.
4 and 5, yes.
Anybody need any clarification? You'd like to put this on the regular agenda?
Regular agenda.
All righty. That brings us down, yes,
Okay.
Alderman Rolfs?
Am I to understand what this is saying is that we as council, if we have anything that we would like to add to, be done under that?
It's basically for any request that, like, if we wanted to have CMT look into something, you know, it's not any certain project. If something comes up, and if there's agreement, then we could have them look into those issues or whatever it may be, and then it would be billed through this work order.
So is that something we would bring to the council floor or that we would bring to you as a department head?
No, I would say that you would approach the mayor with it first.
Yes, Mrs. O'Donoghue.
Is there a time frame on it? I mean, it just is kind of like an open.
It's open.
So is it like for the whole year, or?
There's really no time frame on it.
The way it was kind of explained to me is if one of us older persons wanted something to repaired or had a question of something to be repaired, I personally, the way I would handle it is to reach out to Walt and the mayor and the fellow alderman in the ward, and at that point I would leave it up to Walt whether he would deem it's something we need to have the engineer looked at, or we could handle that ourselves. Is that basically what we're talking about?
It could be anything. It could be Wes needs some clarification on a building. You know, they may have to look in to see if something certain needs to be done in a situation to rectify something. Or even if it's one of our own buildings where we need some engineering background to help us out with making a good decision. Or it could be City Hall. I mean, it could be just about anything.
Yes, Mrs. McQuillan.
So will it, after you expend the first 20,000, will you come back to us and say I need another 20,000, or?
It would be amended. It would have to be amended. And I assume that means approved by the city council.
Any further discussion? All right, that brings us down to announcements. The only thing I have to say is, good Lord was looking down on us on Third Fridays. That was probably some of the best weather I've ever experienced at a Third Friday, other than massive heat or a rainstorm. Appreciate everybody that showed up to help and volunteer. Gotta say, that band was awesome. For a 20-piece horn band, that was pretty good. But hope everybody enjoyed it. There was a discussion the other night after the event of, I'll probably get killed for this, but maybe a September event of some kind, if we could get one planned. Obviously, it gets darker, so that's not in the works, but quite honestly, to see all the young people's faces is what really does it for me. It is something. So that's all I've got. Anybody else? Mr. Landers?
Yes, I would like to add to the agenda for the next voting session the bid approval for the resurfacing, the oil and chip project. The bid opening is August 2nd, and I believe our next voting session is the 7th. So we would like to be able to put that on there and get it approved as soon as possible.
Any objections to that?
Nope.
Any other announcements? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Parrott made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Downs, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:48. Very sorry, Sam. Old Scooter was,
Yeah.
What happened? So sorry, Sam.
It's all right. It's part of.
Part of life, I know.
He was almost 17. He had a good life though. So.
Sure he did, yeah.
Holding pretty good?
Yeah, that's good. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's weird. The house is so quiet.
That's a good opportunity.
Yeah, and you still think you hear them after.
Yes.
the-